Okay, so today we're going to do the Aflamed Hey Amud Base. We're speaking about different types of matzahs that you're not yetzer from on Pesach. So we quoted from the Mishnah. The Mishnah said yetzer b'dmai v'maiser. A person is able to be yetzer with matzah of dmai. Dmai is food from Ha'aretz, which Chacham or Gezer. That since we have to sabbath whether he took maiser from, that we cannot eat it. Says the Gemara, how can we yetzer from dmai? A person is asati from Dmai. Since a person is asati from Dmai, by you eating the Dmai, it's also for you to eat it. And it's mitzvah baba aveda. How can you have matzah in the same second you're being over an isur? Isur that abanon. Answers the Gemara. Kim di bay mafkil nichase. The only way minadin a person is able to be yetzer, a person is able to eat Dmai. Maybe the poor person. Rabbanim goes that all food from a Amaretz cannot be eaten. Besides, if he's an ani has no other choice. So Rabbanim will not go. It says Gemara a very interesting fact that if he wants, this person who's eating matzah of Mai, if he really wanted, he could be mafkir. He could make hefka all his property, and if he makes hefka all his property, is habani. He's a poor person, and if he's a poor person, he's able to eat Mai. So therefore, even though right now he didn't this person is not mafkir all his nechasim, but since ideologically, if he is mafkir is nechasim, he'll become a poor person. So even now, when he wasn't mafkir, it's as if he was mafkir, and therefore he's able to be yetzer from Mai. Ditnan, where do we see this idea? Because during the Mishnah Masechta Mai, the Mishnah says Machilin Sanim Mai. We give poor people Mai, Pesach Sanya, and we give the soldiers of the king. Also, we feed them Dmai. Rav Huna said, Tana, we learned the Bryce, B'Shamay says, Ein Machilin Sadmai, Esanim Dmai, Vesachsanya Dmai. We do not feed poor people Dmai, we do not feed the soldiers Dmai either. Basil say, a Machilin that we do feed them, from that, the fact that Basil said we feed the poor people Dmai is a raya. So in our case, even though it's not poor, but since he could become poor by being mafkir all his property, so he's able to be yetzer chiyuv matzah by eating mai. Says the Gemara brings down a case from the Mishnah. The Mishnah says ma'aser rishin shnigla to masa. A person can eat ma'aser, could be yetzer chiyuv matzah by matzah that was made from wheat that you took ma'aser rishin shnigla to masa. A person took ma'aser rishin and he took truma. Says the Gemara pshita. Obviously, you're able to eat it. The Kimish Nidl Truma say, as soon as you take, why does the Mishnah have to tell it? If you take Truma of Meiser Rishon, then you're able to use it for matzah. Obviously, why not? Once you take Truma and you take Meiser, so it's Chulun, you're able to eat it. What's the Mishnah telling you that you're able to eat such a matzah? So we're not talking about whether he took the Truma for. Let's speak about a case over here, he took the Meiser while the wheat kernels were still on the stalks. The thing is that a person, usually what you're supposed to do is usually take truma, and after you take truma, you take meiser. What if you do fakir? This person, this Levi who takes the meiser sheni, who takes the meiser, what did he do? He took the meiser while the seeds were still on the stalks, and then he was mafresh meiser. Meaning he was mafresh meiser before he was mafresh truma. So what's wrong being mafresh meiser before mafresh truma? Because so he only took Trumas Maisa, but he never took the Trumuk Dun. So who cares? Okay, Rabbi, we learn when Rabbi says, Rabbi says, Lakish, Maisa, you have Maisa, if you have stalks, and you take Maisa Rishain off the stalks before you cut the stalks, so meaning you took Maisa before you took Truma, says the Gemara, it's now you're parting for taking a Truma. Shenamar says in pasuk, "V'harim chamimenu trumas Hashem, ma'aser min ha'ma'aser." You should separate truma from the Eibishter, ma'aser, truma, ma'aser, and then ma'aser. What does it mean? Ma'aser min ha'ma'aser and ma'aser l'cha, v'rei truma gdelo, trumas ma'aser min ha'ma'aser. A person has to take truma and then take ma'aser. But if he does it the other way around, he first takes ma'aser and then he takes truma, so now he's parted from truma. He doesn't take truma anymore, and that's what the Mishnah is teaching us. Even though you went against the rules and you took ma'aser before truma, you can still be yetzer chiyuv matzah. Says the Gemara, Amle Rav Papa Ravashi, and Amle Rav Papa Labaya, Rav Papa asked Abaye, you Abaye just said now a whole limit that you're only supposed to take truma. You're supposed to take truma after ma'aser, and if you took and if you took truma, you're supposed to take Maisa after truma. If you took Maisa, if you didn't, that'll be around you. You parted from truma. You parted from truma. So I'm like, but if I asked Rabbi, I ask you a question. I feel like even back in why did we say there was speaking on a case that he took truma, he took Maisa while he was still on the stalks? What's the difference if he takes Maisa while he's still on the stalks? Let him cut down the stalks. Bring it, even if he did cut down the stalks and he brought it into his warehouse, and then he took Maisa before truma, he's still part from truma. So why did we say a special scenario that he took Maisa, which almost never happens? He took Maisa from the stalks. Says the Gemara. Amalei, so Abaya answered to that papa. No. Allah Makra, for you as a pasuk that says, Mikomat Nesechem Tarim is called Truma Savai. It says in the pasuk that you should take Truma from all your belongings, all your property, all your produce. What does it mean? It means that once it becomes produce, meaning once it's cut from the ground, then even if you mess up the order and you do Maisa before Truma, you still have to take Truma. Say if it's before it's connected, while it's still connected to the ground, and you took off Maisa and you did Maisa before you did Truma and it's still connected to the ground. So now you're part from Truma. We'll see in a second why. But if you bring it into your house, you cut it down already, you bring it into your house, even if you mix up the order and you first do Maisa and then take Truma, you're still chayav to take Truma afterwards. Says the Gemara, Umar Yisa, who said that the pasuk of that says you're supposed that Truma always works, is speaking about once you're born into your field, and the pasuk that says that if you mess up the order, then you're part of the truma, speaking about that it's still on the stalk. So where do you see that in the pasuk? Says the Gemara, "Hi yitkan, hi la yitkan." Very simple. One, in the case if you didn't take off the stalk yet, so it's still not counted as produce yet. And since it's not counted as produce yet, it wasn't mechuyev in truma. And since it wasn't mechuyev in truma, so if you take off meiser before the truma, so then you don't have to take truma again because it was never mechuyev in truma. But in the other pasuk it says that you always have to take truma, speaking about produce. In other words, once something becomes produce, and even if you mix up the order, you still have to take ma'aser. You still have to take truma. So as the Gemara goes further, the Gemara brings another quote from the Mishnah. We said in the Mishnah that a person can be yetsa on Pesach, ma'aser sheni v'hekdush niftu. If you have ma'aser sheni and you have hekdush and you redeem them, you're able to be yetsa chiyav matzah on Pesach. Ask the Gemara the obvious question. Pshita, obviously, if you redeem them, then what's the problem? Eat matzah on Pesach. Who cares? It's 100% chulin. Says the Gemara, we're talking about over here, shanas and a. You redeem them, but you only paid the keren. Let's say the matzah, the flour was worth $100, and you redeemed it, meaning you took the flour, which was now ma'aser sheni, and now you redeemed it, so you gave $100 to Beis Hamikdash, and now you were able to eat the flour, but you only pay the dinners when you redeem something. You have to add a fifth. So over here, you redeemed, you paid the keren, but you didn't add a fifth. You didn't pay another $20. And therefore, since you didn't pay the $20, I would have thought that maybe it's not 100% redeemed. Comes the Mishnah to teach you the chemish ma'akev, that chemish, paying the fifth, is not ma'akev, meaning it doesn't withhold you from eating. You can eat it even before you pay the fifth, but you still have to pay the fifth. Says the Gemara further about kainim b'chala v'trum. We said in the Mishnah that kainim creates by eating flour, by eating matzah that's made from flour, which was made from challah and truma. Why? Because kahanim are able to eat challah and truma. Says Gemara, obviously, what's the problem? It's their challah and their truma. Why can they eat? Why does the Mishnah have to tell you that they're able to eat it? It's common sense. Says the Gemara, no. Matzah says in Torah matzah. Matzah, I thought matzah is a general chiyuv that belongs to everyone. You can't be differentiate. You have one type of matzah, I have a different type of matzah. It says one matzah in Torah. Since it says one matzah in Torah, so we might have to have all the same matzah. Not matzah that one is chulin and one is challah and one is able to. One is only for kohen and one is only for yin. For Yisrael, but it says one time. It says in matzah loshen yachid. It has to be for everyone. So we have a pasuk that teaches us matzah. Even there's a few times extra times in Torah. It says matzah loshen Rabbi. That to teach us that you can have different types of matzah. So Yisrael can have this type of matzah, and you can have this type of matzah. That's what the Mishnah is teaching us this day. It says about it further. The person cannot be yetzer with teva. Teva's person cannot be yetzer with chiyav matzah through eating teva. Meaning things you never took ma'aser from. So that's the Gemara pshita. Obviously not. Obviously it can't be yetzer from teva. If you can't eat teva, only chayv even chayv yisrael shemayim. Obviously it can't be yetzer chiyav matzah. Says the Gemara no. Like tzricha b'teva tava the Rabbi. We're not speaking about teva deiraisa. We're not speaking about something that's mechuyev to take matanis deiraisa. We're speaking about something which is only also the Rabbanon. For example, shezroi b'atzah say that you planted a plant. Let's say a wheat plant in a not perforated pot, in a normal plant pot. So since it's not connected to the ground, it's not getting it's not connected directly to the ground. It's potter from any matanis. That you should still take matanis, meaning you still have to take ma'aser from this thing. And this person did not listen to the rules, so it's only tevel that Rabbanon. Mashmalah, that's what Mishnah is teaching us, that even if it's only tevel that Rabbanon, it's still mutter, it's still aser to eat. Says the Gemara further. Another quote from the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, a person cannot eat. A person cannot eat a yetzachir matzah from flour that's ma'aser rishon that you never took your truma yet, meaning you never gave the part to the kohen. Says the Gemara, pshita, obviously not. Since it's still tevel, meaning it's still aser to eat. Obviously, if you didn't take truma yet, so you can't eat it. Says the Gemara, no. Assuming in a case of here that you cut the stalks off and you put it into your house, and you still didn't take, you took ma'aser before truma. And therefore, I would have thought, I would have thought that before we had the answer that Papa told Abaye that from the fact that it says in Torah ma'aser and a ma'aser, the fact that it says in Torah they have to take truma from ma'aser is mashma. Even if you brought the stalks into your house, maybe if you mess up or if you take ma'aser before truma, then you don't have to take truma because it says to take truma from something which you could take ma'aser. But if you took ma'aser already, so there's no need to take truma. So I would have thought that if you brought it, even if you brought it into the house, you still part from truma. And that's where you have the advice to teach us that even if you brought it to the house, if you messed up the order and didn't take truma, so then you still cannot be yetzachir matzah. And that's what we're teaching us, that even though it's only aser, I would have thought that it's mutter. Why? Because you anyway can't take truma for it. That's aser, and therefore you cannot be yetzachir matzah. Another quote from the Mishnah says, it says in the Mishnah, you cannot be yetzer with hekdesh ma'aser sheni that was not redeemed, so they are still holy. It says the Gemara, obviously pshita, if it's still holy or if it's still ma'aser sheni, then you cannot be yetzer, it's aser to eat, and if you cannot be yetzer chir ma'aser sheni, you cannot be yetzer chir pesach. Answers the Gemara, la'olam the nifto. We're speaking about where you did redeem them, but what does it mean over shlonifto b'kil chasim? You didn't redeem them. Kill chasim. We didn't redeem them according to the way they were supposed to be redeemed. For example, when it comes to ma'aser sheni, when you redeemed it with the coin that doesn't have a surah, meaning it's a pure silver coin or gold coin that doesn't have a image of a coin, it's just a flat piece of silver. Why do you have to have an image of a coin? Because the Rahman Amma says in Torah, it says in the you should form you should form the silver. Meaning the silver has to have a form as opposed to a plain piece of silver. Something that has an image on it, not something a plain piece of silver. So when you redeem your ma'aser sheni, in order to redeem it correctly, you have to have a pure piece of silver, a foreign piece of silver. And so to by hekdesh, so to when it comes to hekdesh, that you redeemed it by hekdesh, you have to redeem it using an object. But do you, instead of redeeming using an object, that you redeemed it for ground? And you had a piece of hekdesh, you said it's hekdesh, and you redeemed it instead of the ground should be hekdesh instead of this item. The Rahman Amma Torah says, he says we redeem hekdesh has to do with money. This person didn't, so even though they're redeemed, they're not redeemed 100%, and that's why we're teaching us that you cannot be yetzer with ma'aser sheni hekdesh that weren't redeemed 100%, even though they're your friends, but you cannot be yetzer ma'aser sheni because they were not redeemed 100%. Okay, so it says the Gemara, learn a price like this. Can it be that a person maybe could be yetzer? It's chi of matzah. We learn the brayso. The brayso asks: is it possible a person to be yotze chi of matzah with tevel that wasn't taken the things that has to be taken when you didn't give the fruit to the kahanim yet? Says the Gemara. Now the Gemara just gets a bit carried away with the actual terminology. We said tevel shaloniskan, tevel that wasn't fixed up yet. Says the Gemara, call tevel nami haloniskan. Any tevel means it wasn't fixed up yet. Tevel means it wasn't taken. You didn't take any presents from it. So from the fact that you said tevel, I don't have to say tevel shaloniskan. Says the Gemara, Allah b'tavel shalei niskan called tzarke. We're speaking about tavel that was redeemed, that was taken as presents, but it wasn't taken in present 100%. What does that mean? Shanita mimeno trumah gdeila. You took trumah gdeila. Shanita mimeno trumas ma'aser, but you still didn't take trumas ma'aser. So to ma'aser rishon, ma'aser sheni, or you took ma'aser rishon, you didn't take ma'aser sheni. Va'afilo ma'aser ani, even if you didn't take ma'aser ani yet, it's still counted as as tevel, and therefore you cannot use it for chiyuv matzah on Pesach. Says the Gemara, How do I know that you cannot use matzah Pesach? Talmud says in Menayin, Talmud says in Pasuk, Neisech alav chametz. Says in Torah, do not eat chametz with a matzah. Misha yisur mishum bal techal, alav batechal alav chametz. Yatzadeh shein yisur mishum bal techal chametz. You have to bavar, you have to, when you're eating matzah, you have to make sure the matzah doesn't become chametz. Meaning, the only issur I have to be worried about when you're eating matzah is issur chametz. Mashenkin, if something is also anyway, a different type of issur. For example, in our case, it's tevel anyway. So then I'm not yet to give matzah. Yeah, calls Misha Yisura Mishum Batechal all of chametz. If it's only also because you cannot eat it because of chametz, then it's also. But this piece of matzah is only also because of eating tevel. So therefore, that's the Mishnah teaches you can't eat. It says the Gemara, what does it mean? It's only usher because of tevel, not because of chametz. What does that mean? It's still usher because of chametz. There's an extra issur. Extra issur is that it's also usher mishum tevel. But you can't tell me that something which is usher mishum tevel, not mishum chametz, that you can't use it for matzah and pesach. It's also usher mishum chametz. What do you mean? Because you got something just tevel and still chametz. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Sheshes, Amar Rav Shimon. This goes according to Rav Shimon. Amar Rav Shimon says, "Ein issur chala issur." Rav Shimon says that one issur cannot fall, cannot act on another issur. Meaning something cannot never become usur twice. For example, our piece of bread over here. If something is tevel, it can become chametz. If you eat it, you won't be over for two. So you only be over for one because ein issur chala issur. And that's why the Mishnah says that even though it doesn't mean to say that the issur chametz went away, it just means that if it's us because of tevel, you don't have to worry about issur chametz because it's ain't issur chala issur. Issur does not fall on another issur. Okay, I'm gonna stop over here on Daf Lamed Hey Amud Beis. Continue tomorrow with Hashem. Have a good night.